What is up, cats and kittens, and welcome to another exciting edition of Geekdom Q&A, where I answer your questions from the Ask.fm. Last week I screwed up because I thought that I had lost last week's Q&A, and it turns out that I didn't lose it. I thought that I did, so I ended up taping one with QAAMAN late at night at like 2 in the morning. I was sick, and I taped it, and I booked it to come up at 2 p.m., and then not realizing that the other one was already there for 3 p.m. I guess I was tired. I don't know what was going on. Maybe my eyesight was all fucked up. I don't know. But the both of them wound up going up. So there are 2 Q&As last week that went up, and so this Q&A is going to be a little bit shorter than most. There's also a 35,000 subscriber Q&A, which I'm taping this Q&A right here on a Monday. I'm taping it Monday night, so you may or may not have that Q&A already here on the channel. If not, then you'll probably have this Q&A, have the 35,000 subs Q&A probably up in a few days. So I'm trying to get a big guess for it. Like I said, it might already be up or it might not be up yet. That's what happens when you tape these things out of order. But I had no time during the week, and right now I have some free time to get this done. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and answer these questions on the Ask.fm. Not too long of a Q&A today, but I'll answer as many as I can. All right, Majin Soul starts things off. Had a dream I was smoking that good Jamaican with a Majin, and I woke up with a new Bugatti. All right. Would they be homeboys, Kudurin and Charlie Brown? Well, they look exactly the same. I say yes. Would they be homeboys, Vegeta and Wolverine? Again, very similar. Yep. Piccolo and Martian Manhunter. They probably would not be homeboys, but maybe if they fought each other. Goku and the guy that owns Golden Corral. Now that food sucks. Master Roshi and Hugh Hefner. Are you kidding me? They'd be BFFs forever. Golden Frieza's Icy card ass Dragon Ball card. Alright, that's not really a question here. Alright, from the Waruvial Crook. In the World Tournament Saga, I can imagine Gohan helping Goku and Buu to study. That would be funny if Buu fails the test, Gohan takes his place, and then Gohan gets bodied in one hit to spite the fans. From Waruvial Crook. He's talking about the Universe 6 arc, where Gohan is not participating according to the Dragon Ball Super manga. But people have theories that Buu is going to fail that test. However, if I remember correctly, I think Vegeta's test was for Champa's team, not for his own. So there might not even be a test for Goku to pass or Buu. I mean, hell, can Goku even pass it? So, but that would be a funny scenario. That actually would be a pretty funny scenario. Will Gohan compete? Probably not. Alright, thank you, Big D. The Japanese version is amazing. Started from the beginning of Dragon Ball, and by Red Ribbon Army, I realized how amazing the Japanese version is. From Gian. Thank you. Or Gian. If I said your name wrong, I'm sorry. Thank you. It is pretty fucking good. Nightmare 31412. Do you think that Gohan surpassed Goku after training in the Room of Spirit and Time before SSJ2? Well, I think he did surpass him because of SSJ2, but I do think Goku's full power SSJ was slightly stronger. Mostly because of how much trouble Gohan had earlier in the fight. Say the Android 13 movie really happened in the timeline. How do you think Future Trunks handled them in the future by himself? He lost. I don't think he can handle them in the future by himself. There's no way he can take on all 3 of those guys by himself. He had enough trouble with one. Since Bulma and her father are 2 of the smartest scientists in the Dragon Ball world, maybe the smartest, how come they did not create an android like Dr. Gero to help the Z Fighters out? Very good question. I actually think this is a very intelligent question because it kind of would make sense. Why didn't they create artificial humans to at least help the Z Fighters out with, with something, with support? Obviously, the Z Fighters, part of the reason is because the Z Fighters wanted to fight on their own. You better believe, excuse me, if Bulma heard that, or I'm sorry, if Vegeta heard that Bulma was making artificial humans to help them, he'd be pissed because he wanted those motherfuckers for himself. Same with Goku. She's not going to try him because at that point, they may or may not have been baby daddy or baby mama or baby whatever, right? Depending on what part of the timeline we're talking about. But nonetheless, it makes sense what you're saying. Like, it really does make sense. But that's part of the reason why. And maybe just Dr. Gero had... Because here's what it is. That Bulma and Dr. Briefs are very smart. But maybe Dr. Gero is more intelligent when it comes to creating artificial humans. Just because one scientist is good at one field does not mean that the other one can't surpass him. I mean, I always assumed that even though Dr. Gero, or Dr. Gero in the dub, even though he created, you know, artificial humans since way back in Dragon Ball, I feel like that 17 and 18 and Cell, of course, and the really strong ones in Dragon Ball Z, I feel like that was his lifetime's work. Like, he took his whole life to make those motherfuckers. So I think that that's why, you know, why it took so long. Because I'm guessing any other androids he had made prior to, you know, 17, 18, 16 would not have been strong enough to even fuck with the Z fighters. It probably took him a long time to really master how to make them. But that's my own headcanon. Brian Paquette. Why didn't Piccolo Daimao know about the Dragon Balls when Pilaf-sama let him free? He seemed confused about the whole thing. Well, he probably wasn't around when they were first made. Also, did Toriyama know that Kami Piccolo were Namekians when he created them in Dragon Ball, or he just think they were cool alien beings? From Brian Paquette. I remember reading that Toriyama actually had Kami and Piccolo's entire backstory written before he wrote the characters. However, I'm not 100% on that because I don't know if what I read was pertaining to just the fact that they were linked beings or pertaining to the fact they were aliens. But I feel like by the time we got to that point in Dragon Ball, I feel like Toriyama was already dancing around the idea of there being aliens because, you know, there's that line where Demon King Piccolo tells Goku, hey, you can't be an Earthling, can you? So I don't know if he had already planned to make that revelation, but it does certainly seem like he had the idea dancing around in his head. So that's kind of the best answer I can give you. Rosalina Winterstellar. I love that name. I doubt that's your real name. Do you think that if Beerus wins the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, that if and when he finds a 7th Super Dragon Ball, he'll use his wish to wish for pudding? I'm a big fan. I absolutely love your channel. Stay awesome. Well, thank you, Rosie, and I do think so. Yes. Yes, he's going to wish for pudding or just a planet filled with food. Because he also likes ramen. So I think it'll be one of those two things. Do you think the longer someone stays in Penguin Village, the dumber they get? Possibly. I hadn't heard that, but who knows. Adam writes, will the Universe 7 World Martial Arts Tournament have the exact same rules as the ones back on Earth? I'm unsure about the whole out-of-bounds rule. I can just see Boo getting blown out of the ring for an easy victory for the other team. I believe they said in Chapter 6 that, yes, the rules will have the same rules as the Budokai, so out-of-bounds does count. But you know how it is in Dragon Ball. They might even change that. Like, they might even change that whole idea like Cell did. Remember, they had those rules in the Cell game, and then Cell said, fuck it, and blew up the arena. You never know. I mean, whatever Toriyama wants, whatever Toyotaro, Kimitoshi Chioka, and these guys want is what's going to happen. Now, Majin Soul is asking a question about Outback Steakhouse for Jay, which I'm going to save for a future Q&A. You got a lot of questions, Majin Soul. I got to get to a few other ones. This one right here I just answered. It's a duplicate here. I'm going to go back up in a minute. Dragon Fist versus Porunga Punch. Dragon Fist wins. Who do you think most deserves a movie about their backstory? From John Desidel. If you're talking about Dragon Ball, right, which I'm guessing that's what you're talking about, I would love... there's so many. There really are. I would love a story about... or a movie, or I guess maybe a TV special, I guess it would be. I would love the Jocko story to be told. I would love to hear the story of Tao Pai Pai. I want to hear the story of Mr. Satan climbing Satan Tower. I would love to see that on screen. I really would like Tarble, whatever the hell he's been doing, if he even exists anymore. Jeez, there's so many. More about Frieza's family. King Cold. You know what? King Cold would probably be my number one pick. King Cold or Dabura, I think, would be my number one pick for TV special that I would make if I could. Instead of the evil Goku, why don't people want a version of Gohan in Universe 6 where he trained his whole life? Also from John. I think that some people do want that. In fact, I've seen that on various places on the internet. People do want a more powerful Gohan. I don't think it's that interesting, to be honest with you. What would you think if the last couple episodes of Dragon Ball were left out of the series? I think personally I would have preferred it to end at the last episode of the tournament, with Goku flying off with Chi rather than going to the quest to find the Bansho fan. The Bansho fan, okay, here's how I feel about this. First of all, in the manga, that is where it ended. In the manga, when Goku beat Piccolo, he flew off with Chi-Chi, and that was it. We didn't see the Bansho fan. There wasn't the fire, Anin, none of that stuff was in the manga. I actually like the lore of that stuff. A lot of it is boring. The early stuff, I think, is a little bit boring. I'm not going to lie about that. But the lore of Anin, Goku seeing Grandpa Gohan one last time, I really, really like that. So I wish they would have just shortened it a little bit, maybe made it 3 episodes and not 5. And I also think the wedding was a big letdown. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. Leave a comment down below, let me know. I expected the Goku Chi-Chi wedding, or I wanted it. I wanted it to be like a big wedding with like all the characters from Dragon Ball, like Roshi's there, Bulma's there, Yamcha. And have it take up like half the episode and actually do like a wedding, like fucking like a soap opera finale, right? But we didn't get that. It was like a small snippet. Chi-Chi smiles, Ox King, her dad, Gyuma's like smiling too, and Goku's like, what have I gotten myself into? And that's it. I feel like it should have been a little bit longer and maybe with more comedy. Play Dragon Quest 8. When you beat that game, there's an extra like scenario where you're getting married. Spoiler. But those of you who have played it know what I'm talking about. And I think it should have been like that. Something like cool like that, you know, and a whole episode of it. Let's this guy's putting my government name here. I'm not really ashamed of my last name here, but may I get the award of non-intellectual questions or comments? It is for the reason I expand human limits. You say you break the bear, and also I like to represent the arts survivors of humanity. Avant-garde choice. Good day to you, sir. He wants the Dumbo award, which I've semi-retired. You have it, brother. You got the Dumbo award. Who is your non-canon DBZ character? Maybe he means my favorite non-canon DBZ character. Probably Janemba, I think. Let's go back up. Burnout fan. What villain in Dragon Ball Z do you think has the most potential to grow in power through rigorous training? Fantastic question. There's 2. 3. There's actually 3. All right. One is kind of semi-headcanon. The other 2 are in the series. Obviously, Frieza and Tagoma, as we've seen recently. Tagoma had maybe the biggest jump ever. I did a video about this on Tuesday. It should be up on the channel by now. Tagoma had one of the biggest jumps in power ever. And then, of course, there's Frieza, who came back extremely weak in comparison to the rest of the fighters, trained for 4 months. He had never trained before in his life, and was able to unlock Golden Frieza and an incredible power that's beyond the regular level of a god. Not, of course, Beerus level, but, you know, past Buu and all them for sure. And, of course, I also feel like Kid Buu also has a lot of... I think Kid Buu has a lot of potential as Oob. And I think that now with Super, I think the ending of the series, not necessarily will be rewritten, but I think that now you have to look at it from a different perspective, because unless Goku and Vegeta lose their god power, Oob is incredibly strong now. Oob is ridiculously strong to be able to fight with Goku. Even though Goku was in his base form, nonetheless, Oob is still very impressive. So I wonder if the reincarnation of Majin Buu, if you take him from a young age, right, and you train him, and you give him real training, not the GT bullshit of the character, the real legitimate training, I don't see how he couldn't be just ridiculously powerful. Maybe it's the level of Frieza. I don't know. Golden Frieza. I don't know for sure, but it would make sense, right, with how strong Kid Buu was. I don't think Kid Buu trained it his whole life either, because he's fucking Kid Buu. He doesn't need to. Which muffin is the best muffin? Banana Nut, my nig. Tien Resurrection F versus Radix Saiyan Saga. That's a really fucking stupid question. Like, I'm not even gonna answer it because of how fucking stupid it is. Like, you have to be trolling me on that one. On a scale of 0 to negative 9,001, how good is My Little Pony? I've never seen it. Ask Kale Xeon. I do love your vis. Thank you. Small question. When did Gohan learn to fly? Great question. Gohan learned to fly when he trained with Piccolo in that 1 year. I guess the 1 year training time. What would you rate Chi-Chi from a 1 to 10 scale? 10 means this is greatest ever, and 1 means I'd rather date GT Bulma or kiss with Guldo from Waruvio Crook. Like a 4. How is it that Beerus knows who Frieza is but not Boo? From Mason Flores. Great question, Mason. I've gotten that question before, however. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't recognize Fat Boo, and maybe when he was awake it was Kid Boo. Or maybe he has no idea who Majin Buu even is. Maybe he's been asleep longer than Boo was around. I don't know. It would make sense, right? Also from Mason, do you think Trunks and Goten will be brushed to the side so they won't be in the tournament in the Universe 6 arc? And if so, is it a mistake on Toriyama and Toei's part? I personally would have Gotenks in the tournament. Well, we don't know what they're going to be doing. They might just take a break for the tournament, but there might be more after the tournament. You got to remember that, guys. The tournament is not necessarily the Universe 6 arc. It might be a part of the Universe 6 arc. The Universe 6 arc might be longer. So maybe we'll see Goten and Trunks in action afterward. I just keep thinking that when the tournament ends, some evil threat's going to come through Universe 6 to Universe 7, and Goku and the gang are going to have to fight it, including Trunks and Goten. I just keep thinking that in the back of my head, that the tournament will just be one part of a bigger story. But maybe I'm wrong. Excuse me, I'm still getting over my sickness. Danny Sama, why are you so aggressive and savage on Twitter? I'm always aggressive and savage when I'm in a bad mood and somebody pisses me off. I am working on that. I've said it before. I do have a short fuse. But I do want to protect my loved ones and protect my community, so I kind of have to do that sometimes. Sometimes I can be a savage, but I am working on it. I think I'm better off now than I was a month ago when me and For Neverworld had our little back and forth. For Neverworld's not that bad, all right? He's not very well researched, but he's not the worst clickbaiter on YouTube. There's a couple other guys out there who are worse, but nonetheless, he's got to be careful what he says. But I shouldn't have. I've already done a video about that. I shouldn't have gone as far as I did, but it's done. It's in the past. We'll move on to the future. Have good times here on Geekdom 101. Would anything have changed if King Cold, I guess, and Frieza bought Cooler with them when they went to Earth? Jordan Nichols. Cooler is a movie character and thus not in the manga, not a Toriyama creation. And to be completely honest with you, but let's just pretend here that it was Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold. I don't think Trunks would have been able to wipe through both of them. I just don't think so. I think that Cooler, the minute that Frieza was in trouble, Cooler would have stepped in and regulated that shit, because Cooler is stronger than Frieza. I really think so. So, yeah, even though the fight was a lot shorter, Goku, there's theories. I might do a video with Arcosian about this. I'm thinking about it. Mecha Frieza versus Final Form Cooler, see which one starts stronger. Because there's some misinformation, or some, not misinformation, but there's some misconceptions there. I do think 5th Form Cooler is more powerful. Would have been definitely harder for Trunks. He would have probably had to wait for Goku to show up, and then they could have fought together. Or Goku would have teleported in from the ship like he said he was going to and helped Trunks out. And probably been like, what the fuck? Joe Mama. Everyone talks about how strong Fat Boo is, but didn't he get weaker when he split into good and evil? Yes. How strong is he after the power drop, and what do you think would have happened if the Fat Boo won his fight of good versus evil? He would have just absorbed the evil back into him, and it would have, I don't know, maybe it would have just nullified again. It wouldn't have been super evil or super Boo. Nonetheless, how strong is Fat Boo? Fat Boo after Kid Boo and all that's out of his system is the weakest Boo. But I don't think he's that weak, folks. He's still fucking Fat Boo who ate a Beerus shot to the grill piece and survived that motherfucker. So, yeah, Fat Boo is straight, man. He's definitely very powerful. He's going to get even stronger now when he trains with Beerus, so I can't wait to see what happens there. Speaking of Beerus, this is the last this is the last question of the episode of this edition of Geekdom Q&A. You said that the Funimation sub is the best to watch once. I guess you mean the Japanese dub. Funimation puts out the DVDs for it. But I can't really pay for the membership since I'm a kid. I see. Is the Kiss anime sub the same thing? I just want to know the correct way, so don't give me the Dumbo. Haha. No, you're not going to get the Dumbo, Beerus. Okay. I don't know what Funimation has on their page. I don't know what Kiss Anime has. I don't know. You're going to have to ask somebody in the comment section. Somebody in the comment section, please let him know. But I assume that the Kiss Anime version is probably the same version on their home releases, which was subtitled by Steve J. Simmons. So, yeah, I think you're okay. Like I'm there. Any of the official releases or any of the subs you see online are most likely not fan subs. It's been years and years since we've seen Dragon Ball Z fan subs, like for the old episodes. The only fan subs we see now is like Super Shit and maybe a couple of the movies that some of the different teams do. But the old Dragon Ball, from what I've seen online, it's anything you see sub is pretty much from Steve Simmons, so you can trust it. Anyways, that is it for this week's Geekdom Q&A. Thanks again for sending your questions, and keep sending them. I got 6,000 of them, so it's going to be a bit. I'm considering not really going back down to the bottom, but it's first come, first serve. I don't want to let anybody down. But nonetheless, thank you, and I'll catch y'all down the road.